Anime adaptations, the magical process of taking a beloved manga and turning it into an absolute masterpiece. Or, in some cases, a flaming train wreck that makes fans cry themselves to sleep. We've all been there. You see the announcement your favorite manga is finally getting an anime. You hype it up, count down the days, and then bam! The animation looks like it was done in MS Paint, the pacing is trash, and the story? What story? So today we're gonna rank the absolute worst anime adaptations of all time. Shows that took everything great about their source material and absolutely butchered it. So let's begin the video. On number 10. Rosario Vampire anime isn't just a bad adaptation, it's a crime scene. They butchered a promising manga and left the corpse behind covered in fan service confetti. The manga gave us dark, emotional arcs, real character struggles, and serious stakes. The anime gave us, oops, I tripped and landed face first into cleavage. Every episode, without fail, the main character was supposed to become a badass, not the poster boy for how is this guy still breathing. The fights had less tension than a toddler's slap fight. And don't get me started on the so-called power-ups, which felt like the animators just added extra sparkles and called it a day. The only thing scarier than the monsters in this anime was the writing. Mocha's Rosario wasn't sealing her powers, it was sealing the entire plot. Watching this anime feels like getting hyped for a roller coaster, only for it to break down halfway through and force you to walk back to the parking lot in shame. 14-year-old me thought this anime was peak culture. Grown-up me wants to time travel and slap the remote out of my own hand. If you ever wondered what it's like to watch an adaptation lose a boss battle against itself, Rosario Vampire is Exhibit A. This anime didn't just miss the point of the manga, it blindfolded itself, spun around 20 times, and ran screaming in the opposite direction. What the fuck? On number 9, Gantz anime is the textbook definition of how to butcher a masterpiece with extreme disrespect. The manga was dark, brutal, raw, and unapologetically intense. The anime? A watered-down, censored mess that felt like it was being politely broadcast for toddlers. They somehow took one of the most savage, high-stakes survival stories ever written and turned it into sad, awkward filler surrounded by cheap elevator music. Gantz is supposed to be about fear, chaos, and human nature at its ugliest. The anime made it feel like a slow Tuesday afternoon with some minor inconveniences. They skipped arcs, butchered character development, and slapped on a made-up anime original ending that felt like it was written during a bathroom break. Kurono, the ultimate anti-hero, was turned into a discount edgy protagonist who had all the depth of a kiddie pool. The animation was mid-even for its time. Every action scene looked like it was choreographed by someone who's never seen a punch thrown in real life. The censorship was so heavy-handed, it was like watching a war movie where nobody bleeds and everyone politely says, "Excuse me," before dying. The anime didn't just miss the point, it completely missed the entire franchise and then tried to pretend it understood anything by throwing blood on the screen. In the end, the real alien invasion wasn't in the story. It was in the studio that hijacked this series and crashed it straight into a landfill. On number 8. Every time someone says they're adapting Junji Ito's work into anime, it should come with a trigger warning, because history has shown it's never good news. Junji Ito is the master of horror manga. His work oozes dread, despair, and nightmare fuel. The anime adaptations, they somehow oozed awkwardness, stiff animation, and pure disappointment. Instead of capturing his mind-melting horror, the anime adaptations felt like they were animated by people who think creepy just means move slowly and add some weird sound effects. The characters looked flatter than a pancake, the jump scares landed softer than a marshmallow falling on a pillow, and the atmosphere had all the terror of a slightly chilly breeze. How do you take pages of twisted, stomach-turning art and turn it into a slideshow presentation with the emotional weight of a YouTube ad? The Junji Ito Collection was so bland, it made legendary stories like Tomi and the Hanging Balloons feel like bad campfire tales told by someone half asleep. They stripped away the intricate details, erased the suffocating dread, and left behind PowerPoint horror that wouldn't even scare a goldfish. Instead of getting adaptations that claw into your mind and haunt you for days, we got content that made you check your watch more than your pulse. Junji Ito's manga deserves adaptations that make your skin crawl, not ones that make you yawn louder than the monsters. On number 7. Tokyo Ghoul. Man, where do I even start? Look, I'm a huge fan of Madhouse Studio. They gave us some absolute classics, and I'll always have massive respect for them, but Tokyo Ghoul, yeah, even my loyalty has limits. They took one of the most brutal, emotional, and complex manga stories, and somehow turned it into a speedrun challenge titled, How Fast Can We Skip All the Good Stuff? Instead of letting Kaneki's slow descent into madness hit us like it should have, the anime pressed fast forward like it was running late for work. Character development was gone, plot pacing was on life support, and don't even get me started on Tokyo Ghoul Square A. They threw the manga out the window and started freestyling like they lost the script halfway through. Watching Kaneki's story in the anime felt like getting half a jigsaw puzzle and being told use your imagination for the rest. Now, don't get me wrong, the first few episodes looked amazing, the OP slapped, and the potential was insane. But somewhere along the line, the adaptation got rushed, hacked apart, and left bleeding out harder than Kaneki himself. In short, I love Madhouse, but this was them having an off day. On number 6. Record of Ragnarok anime is living proof that even when you have a god-tier concept, bad animation can still suplex all your dreams into the dirt. Think about it. Gods versus humanity in a tournament to decide the fate of the world. It's literally the easiest setup for peak, mind-blowing hype. And what did the anime give us? Slideshow battles, actual fighting? Nah, just a series of dramatic still frames and awkward close-ups, like they lost the fight budget after the intro sequence. Every fight felt like I was watching a PowerPoint presentation made by someone trying to meet a midnight deadline. Lu Bu versus Thor should have been an earth-shattering, god-slaying battle. Instead, it looked like two action figures being smashed together by a bored kid. Adam versus Zeus was supposed to break the internet. The anime made it look like a TikTok animation made on a $5 app. And don't even get me started on the pacing. It was so slow. I aged 6 months watching one match. Manga had intensity, weight, and absolute chaos. Anime had awkward staring contests and slow-mo punches that felt like they were moving through molasses. If disappointment had a championship tournament, Record of Ragnarok anime would be undefeated 3 years in a row. On number 5. Promised Neverland started as a masterpiece, a tense psychological thriller about survival, betrayal, and the desperate fight for freedom. Season 1 had the perfect pacing, chilling atmosphere, and emotional gut punches that left everyone breathless. And then Season 2 showed up and dragged everything into the gutter. Instead of adapting the manga's best arcs, they butchered the story, skipped massive chunks of critical plot, and speed ran to a random happy ending. The Goldie Pond arc, literally peak survival horror, was gone without a trace. They turned a dark, gripping story about survival against monsters into a half-baked fantasy about let's just forgive the demons and be friends. It's like someone ripped out the manga's soul, stuffed the corpse full of glitter, and called it a day. Watching Season 2 wasn't heartbreaking, it was insulting. They had one of the best blueprints ever created, and somehow managed to build a house made of cardboard, duct tape, and shame. This wasn't an adaptation, it was a murder scene. The Promised Neverland anime didn't just disappoint fans, it betrayed everything that made the story special. On number 4. Uzumaki anime had one job: bring Junji Ito's nightmare world to life. Instead, they brought it to an awkward, stuttering, low-budget funeral. They delayed it for 4 years, and somehow it still looked like it was animated during a lunch break. The first episode gave us hope. The rest looked like they animated it with a crayon taped to a Roomba. Junji Ito's manga was a masterpiece of cosmic horror. The anime adaptation, a masterclass in making horror boring. Every scene felt like it was underwater, slow, stiff, lifeless. The tension was supposed to crawl under your skin. Instead, it packed up and left. The pacing was so fast, even snails would have told it to slow down. Instead of eerie, detailed art, we got shaky lines and visuals that looked like they were drawn during an earthquake. This adaptation didn't capture the horror. It captured the feeling of sitting in a DMV line for 5 hours. 4 years of waiting for this. At this point, it would have been scarier if they never released it at all. Uzumaki anime didn't just missed the soul of the manga, it buried it in an unmarked grave and forgot where it was. On number 3. Seven Deadly Sins anime started strong, and then fell apart like a Jenga tower hit by a truck. The first season? Banger. Peak hype. Animation that made you feel the punches. And then, season 3 pulled up with animation so bad it looked like it was drawn during a minor earthquake. Epic battles. Nah, we got stiff noodle arms, melting faces, and punches that looked like gentle forehead taps. Meliodas vs. Escanor, a fight that should have shattered the heavens, was animated like a PowerPoint slideshow run on Windows XP. They made characters who once radiated godlike energy move like stick figures in a flipbook made by a sleepy toddler. There were moments where it looked like someone just dragged PNGs across the screen and called it action. Blood, impact frames, emotional intensity, gone. Replaced with softcore tickle fights and half-drawn backgrounds. The animation dropped harder than Meliodas' self-respect every time he groped Elizabeth. Watching Seven Deadly Sins anime fall from greatness was like watching your favorite restaurant get shut down and replaced by a gas station snack aisle. The manga deserved a high-budget god-tier adaptation. Instead, it got fast food service with expired ingredients. Seven Deadly Sins didn't just decline, it got hit by a meteor and then trampled by a herd of angry fans. On number 2. The beginning after the end. Man, where do I start? This anime looks like it was animated by a group project where nobody showed up, and the one guy who did was using Microsoft Paint on a fucking broken laptop. They somehow took a S-tier story and gave it C-tier budget, D-tier animation, and F-tier effort. Arthur deserved to be the next great isekai king, but this adaptation made him look like a background character in a mobile game ad. Honestly, the still frames were working harder than the animators. I've seen PowerPoint presentations with more dynamic movement. At this point, I'm convinced the real tragedy of the story was this anime existing. The action scenes felt like they were choreographed by someone who had never seen a fight, but had read about one once on a cereal box. The studio didn't just drop the ball, they set the ball on fire, threw it into a dumpster, and drove that dumpster off a cliff. Watching this adaptation was like seeing someone propose with a ring made out of gum wrappers. Painful, disappointing, and secondhand embarrassing. Honestly, if Disappointment had an opening theme song, it would be the soundtrack of this shit anime. On number 1. Berserk 2017 is living proof that you can have a god-tier story and still make an anime so bad it physically hurts to watch. Kentaro Miura spent decades crafting a masterpiece, only for the anime studio to animate it like a broken PlayStation 2 cutscene. The CGI is so atrocious, it makes early 2000s bootleg video games look like Oscar-winning cinema. Every character moved like they were wading through invisible jello, stiff, awkward, and cursed beyond belief. Guts, the Black Swordsman, one of the most legendary badasses in fiction, animated like a glitchy NPC who got stuck in a wall. Instead of capturing the brutal, tragic beauty of Berserk, the anime captured the vibe of a PowerPoint presentation during a Wi-Fi outage. Emotional scenes that were supposed to rip your soul apart felt like watching action figures get knocked over in slow motion. Every sword swing had the impact of someone tossing a pool noodle at a brick wall. The camera angles were so weird, half the time it looked like they were filming from inside someone's backpack. Miura gave them a golden gift. They responded by spitting on it, dropping it, and then running it over with a dump truck labeled low budget. Honestly, Berserk shouldn't even be called an anime. It's more like an extended crime against art. If Disappointment had a face, it would be Berserk 2017 glitching at 12 frames per second. And there you have it, the worst anime adaptations that fumbled harder than anyone thought possible. If your favorite anime ended up on this list, hey, I don't make the rules. I just suffer through the pain like the rest of you. Peace out.